Alright, to start things off, let's talk a bit about the film this game was based off, The Polar Express, featuring Tom Hanks. The movie focuses on the story of some little man, the main character, no name, doing something involving Christmas, but I mean, fuck that. Let's talk about the real star here, Tom Shanks. Now, Tom really is the star of the show here. He's the motion capture for the protagonist's child, he's the father, he's the conductor, he's the hobo, he's the Santa Claus, he's fucking God himself. Tom, calm down, man. Tom Hanks practically plays the whole population of a small town in West Wyoming in this film alone. Now, I love to talk more about the film, but sadly, that's not what we're doing here today. We're talking about the game, which has a lot less Tom Hanks than I really would like. God, I love you, Tom. The game starts out with some FMVs from the movie and Tom Banks, and introduces the nameless characters of young Sheldon and girl as best it can, and then moves on to an in-game cutscene where we are introduced to our antagonist, some Grandpa Joe doll who, like the real thing, is just despicably evil. After that, we get back into the setting, and dear God, they don't look no good. Now onto the game, and I have to say, the controls are god-awful. There's this terrible input lag that makes the simplest maneuvers a grand feat, and that turns this very simple hallway into a challenge. Normally, these mostly harmless things won't be difficult, but when you have to time your button pushes half a second ahead, it really messes things up. This is the first room in the game, so it's not really a problem. Next up is our first puzzle, and I wonder how hard it'll be. Maybe I'll have to find a pattern in the boxes, or I'll just have to have this rugrat behind me shoving his flashlight up my ass so I can hold square next to a box. Fucking real brain tickler, that one. Okay, found your ticket. Next car. Balls. Exciting. Difficult. Engaging. Alright, next. Next up is another minigame with a very simple premise like the last one. Go into a row, hold square, and if they throw food at you, duck. That's it. Seriously, I'm even kidding, there are McDonald's keychain games with more depth than this. Balls. Exciting. Difficult. Engaging. Alright, next. At this point, it becomes more evident how bizarre this premise is. Seriously, they had no idea what to do with this game, so they just took plot points from the movie and spaced it out with a stupid subplot involving Grandpa Joe's pensioner gang. After that FMV that made sense because it was ripped from the movie, we now have to fight a puppet in tennis for...
You look like a good sport. The ticket you're looking for is on the other side of this train car. If you can get the ball past me, then you can pass. Let's play!
No reason, actually. And this tennis game is as bad as the rest of them. The speed and urgency of, any sport is what makes it fun. This takes all of that out of it. The ball goes slowly across the court at its own pace, plus also the puppet's voice changes. Before it was actually a pretty friendly voice, but now it seriously is just like the pet voice you'd expect. It's a bit off-putting. I don't want to get too close to him. You stay back.
Shh. Be very quiet. The cook is very angry and he won't let anyone enter the kitchen. But I have to get inside because someone has hidden my ticket in there.
Why is the cook angry?
Someone messed up all the food he made. Now he's gotta make more.
Yeah, that was me. But it wasn't really my fault. Those puppets started it. Don't worry though. I'm gonna sneak in there and get your ticket back.
Okay, just be careful. The cook is not in a good mood at all.
What was that?
In the next car, we get to this girl who's afraid of the modest mouse.
Promise you won't laugh.
I won't laugh.
Some horrible little mice ran off with it. I'm really scared of mice.
Just one more.
There you go. There's the key.
Alright, with that job well done, we move on to the next one where we have to use the ice smasher thing. This one's pretty boring. There's not real funny to be made here. So, next up, we bully some of these jack-in-the-boxes in cold blood, and then we move on to a cutscene where delicious Tom Hanks takes the girl into the boiler room to fuel the train, and thusly, the game plops us onto the roof of this train. Alright, so full disclosure here, I used PC HSX2 to emulate this game, which came with some issues, but they aren't that noticeable. This minigame is simple, but it goes on for a very long time, just padding time. Next up we meet Hobo Hanks in his infinite glory, and he, like the god he is, risks his life skiing down this mountain in order to help our young man reach the front of the train to teach the conductors how to use coal so they can stop burning kids alive for fuel. Although the journey down is pretty boring for a ski ride especially, it's mainly 2 repeating areas for a while to save space on the game disc, and, like the train segment, this takes a long time. Now these guys are completely incompetent.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
And need me, a child, to collect their color-coded machinery to toss to them, and honestly, this is the weakest minigame in this whole thing, and that's really saying something. Everything before this had the same joy you get from a Flash game, but this one is just straight up tedious, which is odd because the next couple of games are literally manual labor, and they're better than this by a far margin. Finally, we spare the girl her life, and we get a reprise of a game from earlier that really sucked. Then onto probably the most enjoyable minigame in all of this. We have to get the girl across the room, and to do that we have to move these boxes to both form a path, but to also give her something to push off of. Honestly, the second function of this is one I rarely see in any form of this sort of minigame. It definitely adds another element to it that could challenge me if this were fleshed out, and not just a throwaway minigame in the Polar Express. And then we have the same exact mice game again. God, they really do love using their work. Next up is a boss, where all you have to do is throw stuff at him until he charges up for a big attack to reveal his heart, then BAM! Hit him when he's sensitive. Like most things in this game, this boss goes on for far too long and has as little effort put into it as possible. How hard would it have been to make his heart a dynamic health bar? Would have been cool, I'm just saying. Finally, with Grandpa Joe dead, all the children rejoice, and in order to celebrate, we have to get put into more manual labor by our grand overlord, Tom Zedong. At this point, the game skips past the coolest thing that happened in the movie. Instead, it just skips straight to the North Pole, where our cardboard character cutouts are screwed up something, and now they're heading down a hill in a train car. The minigames at this point are actually better than the ones in the train. This one especially, I would say, is on par with a good Flash game, which, for the Polar Express game, is fantastic. This one, we just had to lean the car left and right, and for once, I'd say this minigame didn't really overstay its welcome. It actually got better as it went on because of the speed which accrued going down the hill until we jumped the bridge. Extreme! Next minigame is once again an above-average Flash game. This one, we are twisting and turning in a tube trying to hit these little signs which the game picks and chooses when to work, and it can be really, really disorientating. And once again, like all games prior, it goes on for far too long. Well, next the gang gets to a factory bit that disguises itself as a puzzle, but really all you have to do is go along the conveyor belts and pull levers in a linear fashion. Yeah, this is one of the weaker ones on this game. After that, we get to Santa's Sack, and it's a platformer. Remember the good old days where we only had to worry about a single hallway with this input lag? Now it's a whole room, and because I'm emulating this to record it, there's a constant lag present which took any fun this level had and crushed it into nothingness. Thankfully though, this level is forgiving with the platforming, until it's not. Then you have to start the whole minigame all over again. And now we're off Santa's Sack somehow, and this elf hands me a a child, the wheel to his airship to pilot Santa Sack through this industrial revolution era town, with proletariat elves waiting around every dark corner, trying to take down the bourgeoisie claws. Factories explode in the distance, statues of the red-clad emperor fall as elves crawl out of the woodwork, demanding equal pay. Seriously though, the environment this minigame is set in is more interesting than the entire game itself. Speaking of, this minigame sort of sucks. You sort of just have to go high or low to avoid bridges. Then at the end it gets to this absolute bullshit part where you have to pilot through these alleyways that are as big as the sack you're carrying. And with that, we reach the North Pole where we finally get to meet Santa Hanks, and with that, the credits roll. Overall, this game was alright. The minigames were not very fleshed out, with the majority of them being very poorly produced and extended for a long period of time to just fill up space. In the 2 hours it took to beat this game of a dozen minigames with multiple duplicate minigames in there wasn't a lot of joy to be had. Although there was enough to keep children's attention for a while, which was this game's prime objective. Overall, I'd give this game a 4 out of 10. But with the inclusion of Tom Hanks, this bumps the game up to a 10 out of 10. Good job, Tom. Oh, thanks for watching this, my first ever video. If you can, give me any feedback, that'd be fantastic. I'm still working through finding my way with editing and just learning how to do, well, everything. I'm sure it was very evident through this whole thing at how new I am to all this. But if you have any suggestions for a game for me to cover, be it old or new, I'll try to do whatever it is. And with that, once again, thank you.